want to talk about why it is exactly that business partnerships fail so commonly and so badly. And the reasons will make a lot of sense because they're actually rooted inside fears that you and your associate have. Now, for purposes of our conversation, we're not going to go too deep into the associate's perspective, but I can tell you they are stacked with fears of their own. Chief among them are there too. The fear that they will spend the next 5 years of their career being strung along with the promise of equity at some point in the future. And the second most prominent fear is that they will end up working for years only to then get an opportunity to buy into a practice that they have helped build and increase the valuation of. But that's for another day. What I want to speak to now is your fear, the owner doc, the two most prominent fears that we bring, because once we see them, we can automatically start reverse engineering away from those outcomes. What are they? The very first is the wrong person. You are afraid of bringing somebody in that appears to have all the great qualities only to discover that they lack the qualifications. The difference between qualities and qualifications can't be overstated. Qualities, I trust them, I like them, I've known them for years, we went to the same school together, says nothing about their ability to handle conflict resolution with an upset patient, balance the books, manage overhead, hire and fire, write sales copy, which is really advertising copy for positions that you have in your practice, and on and on. Qualities are not qualifications. Qualities are great. Without qualification, you're absolutely right to be afraid of bringing in the wrong person. That's the first fear. The second is the wrong deal. And this too makes perfect sense. After all, we know that all human behavior is a response to incentives. We quite literally are operating exactly the way that the incentive structures we've built have dictated. And you would have seen this with your employees, with your family members, and if you're a parent, with your kids. So we can see that with the wrong design, we can actually turn a totally viable, qualified partner into a parasite or a monster. I've seen both too many times. Why is it that we struggle with unqualified individuals? Going back to the first fear. Well, it's fairly obvious, but it's still really difficult to speak about because what we're discussing is asking ourselves the question, how can you sit down across the desk from someone else who has maybe exactly the same title you do? They too are a doc. They are a dentist. So while you carry the same titles, you are not at all of equal qualification. You can know everything you possibly need to know about the most complicated clinical dentistry, and it says nothing about your ability to shepherd a sophisticated, mature business. This is one of your fears, and you're wise to be afraid of this. Having that conversation about qualification has to be done so well that it doesn't undermine the otherwise peer-to-peer negotiating kind of conversations and relationship that you have, but at the same time maintains the structural value of the very equity that you are going to be offering them. Now, you would do well to develop a process to have that conversation that achieves the objectives of putting them in touch with the reality of their current underqualified selves and aspiring to a fully future qualified self while simultaneously protecting their dignity. It's difficult. Well, it's difficult for most, but I'm here to tell you it's completely solvable. And as we continue on our journey going forward, I'll show you exactly the framework that I have used as a non-clinician, as a non-veterinarian that had veterinary doctors working for me, as a non-dentist that has dentists working for me. There's a framework that'll work for you beautifully that protects the dignity of your associate and the qualification and value of what it is that you stand to offer. That's what's required. Maybe you have your own solution. I certainly have mine. But if you don't, you would do well to craft one as early as possible. Those are your objectives. Qualification matching dignity preservation and value enhancement. The next fear, going deeper, is of course the wrong design, the wrong deal. As we've alluded to and discussed already, and as you know, the wrong incentive will create exactly the outcome you don't want. Now, bear in mind, individuals have things they are drawn to and things they are pushed and compelled away from. It's not just what we're induced to do, but what individuals have an aversion to having, doing, or being in their lives that is the other side of the incentive coin. There are things we seek and things we seek to avoid. Your structure has to account for this. Most do not. And it explains exactly why 50 to 80% of estimated dental partnerships fail within 5 years. Those are not good odds. And I'm telling you, these are the two things that they're missing. So what do you do having identified that the qualification conversation is the biggest impediment? After all, you are not really worried about having a partner. You're worried about having an unqualified partner. The former is just blind fear, and it's going to absolutely obstruct all of your progress in your journey forward. The second is a completely legitimate fear. You need to figure out how to qualify these candidates in a way that is aspirational and compelling for them. Easy to do. But back to the design. Why is it that most designs fail? It's not simply about the incentives, though obviously that's a huge piece. It is when you think about it, an agreement, which is then calcified, locked into, and legally bound up inside a contract, is nothing more than a snapshot. Snapshot of what? A snapshot of everybody, yours and mine, goals, capabilities, dreams, fears, aspirations, interest rates, the economy, the market, the DSO world, as they stand today. Meaning we are trying to vision cast into the future that we cannot imagine and do not even know what we will look like, care about, be capable of, or looking to be done with in that future. Systems design has to account for, the partnership system design has to account for the fact that all of those things I listed, capabilities, fears, aspirations, interest rates, market, economy, currency, overhead, inflation, all of these things will change in the future. Not one of them will look the same 5 years from now. Yet you will have created a contract signed off on by an attorney with a leathered wall office that assures you all is well, pushed into and projected into a future that almost assures this contract cannot be relevant. It just won't. These are the things you need. A qualifying conversation and framework of mentorship into the professional contribution channel in your practice. Supremely powerful should you do the work. And the second is a contract that is no longer bringing static projections, expectations, and demands into a future unknown dynamic world. You solve those two things, your two fears, and you will launch years ahead of your peers and actually find yourself in a place where you have truly harnessed the ambition of somebody and the skills of the collective to build a future that is bigger and more exciting for you both. That's what I wish for you. It's on the other side of that work. I recommend it. I've done it. I have my own philosophy. It's worked beautifully for me. I hope that you have your own. If you don't, well, we'll be working on that going forward. Cheers.